button, sir?
Oh yeah, that helps.
It's not button. It's on. They're all on. Okay, I'll just be grinding. Okay. Just give me the high sign when you.
You want to be called Alan or Al? Al. Okay. Hi. How are you doing, Jeff? Excuse me, you're not getting up.
That's okay.
It's a long ride. It's a long way up. I think we just continue with whatever the flow was.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
Handshake.
We're still friends.
We'll see after tonight.
All right. Well, I don't know. Can you take these out and beat people?
Dick.
I'm just glad to see you're moving around better.
Oh, yeah. Doing well.
You've joined the zipper fraternity now.
Yep.
That's Ken when there's multiple person. You can do whatever. Okay. Do whatever. Maybe we'll just start and then just go in order. Just.
We all got a microphone?
Hopefully, I won't even see that. Yeah. What's that? Oh, silence your phones. Yes. Should probably silence my own phone.
So you got everything memorized?
What's that?
You got everything memorized?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. No, absolutely not.
You're ringing the bell.
I'll be the bell ringer.
All those years of experience, huh?
What's that?
Said all those years of experience.
Yeah, and you know, the more things.
And good evening. Welcome to the Beaver Dam Mayoral Primary Candidates Forum here live from the Beaver Dam Veterans Center. We want to thank you very much for joining us this evening at this event that's been sponsored by the Beaver Dam Chamber of Commerce. My name is Craig Warmbold. I am the news director with WBEV 95X and DailyDodge.com. Where we are video streaming tonight, and you can also listen back to this on Saturday. On AM 1430 WBEV, we'll be rebroadcasting this in its entirety. We want to thank you again for joining us with the candidates in the spring primary election. The incumbent Becky Gluen, Jeffrey Coleman, challenger, Alan Winter, challenger, all joining us today, all appearing on the February 18th ballot here in the city of Beaver Dam. So basically, we've got opening and closing arguments coming up with the candidates, and in between, three segments. One in which the media will be asking questions, one in which the candidates will be asking questions of each other, and one of the final segment will be members of the audience invited to ask questions of the candidates here. When it gets to be about that time, we would ask that you line up over at this microphone over here, and we'll try to take you guys in the order in which you stand. So without any further ado, let's just go over some of the basic things that folks need to know here, and that is that the Beaver Dam Chamber as the host, the business organization sponsoring the event, and I as the chosen moderator will be conducting the debate this evening. The candidates have been seated in a order that was predetermined by numbers drawn. And we are going to begin with our opening statements, which are going to be confined to 1 minute per candidate. Again, we did draw right before the program started, and the order for the program will be just as the candidates are seated, with Becky Gluen, then Jeff Coleman, then Alan Winter speaking in that order. So we will now begin with the introductory statements from Becky Gluen.
I just want to thank everyone and welcome everyone this evening. I think it's great to see such great attendance at our primary debate, and so I want to thank everyone for coming out to the radio station, chamber, as well as the Legion for hosting this evening. Thanks to both of my opponents and their service. Al, for your service as a veteran, which I have the most extreme respect for, and having served in our armed services, and to Jeff and his public service, to our community as an alderperson and chair for a number of years. I want to thank my family, of course, Tom, who is my rock and help at home, to my mother and sister, who are great support, and to the citizens of Beaver Dam that placed me in this position to lead our community 2.5 years ago. I so appreciate having had this opportunity to serve you and Beaver Dam, and I'm so excited to continue the progress that we've continued in the first 2 years.
I'm going to call an audible right off the bat. We had some technical difficulties, Jeff, with the beginning 30 seconds of that. If you would, please, we'll give you another 30 seconds if you could maybe repeat some of the things that you started the program with. I apologize. I know this is unorthodox, but I want to be fair to everybody, and we're making this decision on the fly. If you want to waive your time,
I'll waive it.
That is probably much better for me. I appreciate that, because this was a tough call on my part.
Unless you want to be welcomed again, I don't know. But
no, thank you.
No, that's fine.
But Becky Gluen, thank you for those opening remarks. We now go to Jeff Coleman.
Thank you, Craig. Again, my name's Jeff Coleman. I want to echo Becky's sentiments here for all the citizens and veterans that are here. This is a great turnout. Becky mentioned my service to the community, city of Beaver Dam. I was an alderman, 4th Ward alderman, from 1993 to 2005. During those 12 years, I chaired every major committee in the city, and I was council president for 8 years out of that. Also, the last 4 years, I've been, I guess we'd call it a voluntary unpaid position as president of the Police and Fire Commission, and for the past 4 years, and I'm looking forward to serving for a long time in the future. So thank you very much.
And now we go to Al Winter.
My name is Alan Winter, and I was born in Beaver Dam. I've lived here most of my life, with the exception of 2 years in the military and a short 10-year stint in Maine, as I was transferred out there by my employer. I served in the United States Army for 2 years, serving 13 months in Korea during the USS Pueblo crisis in 1968-69. I've been active in Beaver Dam community since I was 13 years old. Was a volunteer Little League umpire and went on to be president of the youth baseball program for 8 years, and I coached for 13 years. I also chaired the Beaver Fest athletic field activities for 9 years. I'm married. I have 2 grown children, a daughter-in-law, 2 grandchildren, and they all reside and work in Beaver Dam. And again, I want to thank everyone for being here.
All right, those are our opening statements. We now go to the next segment, which is an opportunity for representatives of the media to ask questions. And it's my understanding the questions will be asked by Kevin Haugen of WBEV 95X and DailyDodge.com. The questions can be directed to either one of the individual candidates or all the candidates as a whole. The candidate will have a 1 minute to respond. If a question is posed only to one candidate in a race, her opponent will be offered the opportunity to have 30 seconds to comment or rebut. Numbers, again, were drawn, and we're going to continue this fashion beginning right to left. Sorry, I had to think about that. And we will begin with Kevin Haugen asking the first question.
Where is a north side fire station on your list of priorities?
We begin with Becky Gluen.
On my list of priorities, I think there's a lot of research that needs to be completed yet as far as coming to that determination. I think if you attended the 2 county meetings that were just held, and we have an upcoming meeting of a study that's going to be done, and we'll find out some more information during that time. But a lot of what we're hearing from the study that had been done at the county level is collaboration, regionalization, sharing of resources and equipment. And so that is, we're still waiting to hear more of the results from that. So it's too early to determine certainly we know that growth has gone to the north side of Beaver Dam. And so we need to look at that and our growth and how we grow continually overall in Beaver Dam. So I think it's just a little bit too early. We don't have the research in completely.
And the same question goes to Jeff Coleman.
As Becky mentioned, the county has done a countywide study on staffing and needs. The smaller communities around the county can't even man an EMS department in many situations. So the county study was kind of the starting point to determine if we're going to go north side, who's going to consolidate, that type of thing. That study is in, and I know the county's working on it. We also have a study going in the city of Beaver Dam that we're hoping is a little more in-depth as to location, staffing that's needed, that sort of thing. It's let's just say it's on my list of priorities, but it's kind of lukewarm yet. We need more information before we can move on it.
And now the same question to Al Winter.
You have a list of about 5 priorities, and I have that listed as number 5. I think once again, like Jeff mentioned, that needs to be some more research done on it. And I think we have some things in the city of Beaver Dam that hold a higher priority, such as fixing the roads. And certainly if I were elected mayor, I'd take that police and fire station under consideration.
And the next question.
Do you feel the city of Beaver Dam needs a public pool?
Start different or?
Yeah, now we reverse order and we start with Al Winter.
A pool would be very nice. A pool's very costly, and city's going to have to make up their mind whether we're going to fix the roads, build a pool, build a fire station. There's other priorities ahead of the pool, I'm afraid.
And we'll go back in reverse order now to Jeff Coleman.
That's a question that's been kicked around at the city level for well over 20 years. Do we need a pool? Yeah, I think we could probably use one. I've talked to people from out of town that say, wow, you got Crystal Lake Beach, what a great facility. You got a beach in town. But that's not exactly what people are looking for today. It is more in the way of a swimming pool itself. Again, it's been studied and studied and studied, and there has never been enough backing on it privately or publicly. And if it would get reopened again, I wouldn't have any problems reopening the discussion on that, but I'm not 100% sure where it would go again.
We now go to Becky Gluen.
So there's a lot of, when we did our recent Swan City Park study survey, and we sent that out, we had about 2,000 people that responded to that survey. The highest number of respondents to that had asked for a community pool at Swan Park, because thinking about that pool and the agedness of that, we know that that needs to be taken care of, whether that's replaced or changed at that point. A pool does not fit at Swan Park, so it was the recommendation of MSA to put a splash pad there if that's the determination. I think that would be the direction that the city should go, to have some type of opportunity for young people and for quality of life for families that are coming here. And whether a pool would happen in the future, that would take a lot of time and effort and planning for that. But I think that's down the road.
All right, the next question will begin with Jeff Coleman after it's asked.
Beaver Dam is currently at 39% of its debt capacity for capital projects, streets, and major equipment purchases. Would you like to see that number increase, decrease, or hold steady in future years?
I have to be honest and say I'd rather see that number decrease. Even though we are only at 30% of our debt capacity, it's still $25 million. And that's a lot of money for a city to owe. It's very difficult, in my opinion, when you're doing a budget every year. One of the things you have to budget for is debt service out of the stuff you bought last year and the year before that. So I would like to see the number decrease. It's going to be real tough to get anything done without borrowing money. Borrowing money is a unfortunately, it's a bad situation, but you have to do it. Secondly, if you gotta borrow money, borrow it at 3 and 4%, which is now, but I'd like to see the numbers down on that overall.
All right, we now go to Al Winter.
Oh, I think everyone would like to see the debt capacity go down. Everyone would like to see their taxes go down. Everyone would like to pay less money to the city. However, when you look over the set of priorities that are going on, revitalizing the downtown, building a new fire station, building a pool, redoing the roads, I don't see any way that you can reduce the debt capacity. I think you have to try to work within your limits.
And the same question now goes to Becky Gluen.
You know, we're in a levy limit era in every community. Every community funds projects like roads and vehicles and fire department remodel and a police department through these means. And they're low interest rates. Absent of another source of funding, this is the model that we're to use right now. And actually, our debt capacity is really not as bad as what it seems. If you break it down out of that 40%, 15 million of that is actually general debt. And then you break it down and 5 million of that is from our TIFs, which our TIFs are very, very healthy. They have no tax impact on individuals. And so that really isn't a piece of it. And then if you look at our, the last part, of almost 5 million again, it's the utilities, which again can be broken out and can be removed from that debt so that your capacity really is the 15 million. This is a longer topic than 1 minute, so.
Thank you. And for the next question, we'll begin with Becky Gluen.
What is your plan to increase the stock of single-family homes in Beaver Dam?
Yeah, so that was one of my main missions, I guess you would say, when I first came into office. And during the first year and a half, I met with over a dozen developers trying to get single-family housing started here. It's a little bit difficult with what we were finding is that there aren't as many construction companies, and they tend to stay in bigger cities because home prices there can be sold for more, and they're making more money. The infrastructure costs here are more, and so there is a way that we can still make that happen. And coming up, we have a TID that's closing, and we can capture those funds for 1 year in extension, and this is an opportunity through the state that they allow that to happen, to be used towards affordable housing, so that you can use it towards affordable housing projects and single-family housing to keep them affordable. You also got to shrink the size of the roads so that less cost.
All right, and we now go to Jeff Coleman.
This sounds more like the Gong Show than anything else. I've always been of the opinion that apartment buildings and motels are great to bring up your tax base, but single-family housing pays the bills. These are people that come to Beaver Dam and they stay in Beaver Dam, that sort of thing, whereas apartment buildings, I hate to use the term transients, but a lot of people can move anytime they want. So to get the people into Beaver Dam and keep them into Beaver Dam, we need more single-family housing. And we don't need the $250,000, $350,000 homes. We need someone that's willing to put up $100,000 or $150,000 homes that kind of match the wage scale in Beaver Dam. So I'm all for it, though. We just got to find a place to put them. That's the big thing. We're landlocked by town of Beaver Dam, and it's very difficult to come up with enough of an area to make it profitable for anyone.
And we now go to Al Winter.
I think the land availability in the city of Beaver Dam is an issue. And I think that some people that I've spoken to are looking for some of these houses like were built on Judson Drive not long years ago, where they worked off some equity and built their own houses. That's what some people are looking for. And apartment buildings, I think we need some affordable housing for the elderly. And basically what's going on in our community is people who want to build new houses are building them out in the townships due to the tax base.
And we continue our questions from the media. This time we will move down and start with Jeff Coleman.
Where does fixing city streets fall on your list of priorities?
If there was a number higher than number one priority, I'd put them there. The streets in Beaver Dam are deplorable. I can't think of another word to even describe them, but it didn't happen overnight. It's been this way for a long time. We need to set up a really, really good priority schedule to hit the worst ones first and then go along with that. We did have that set up back in the early 2000s, but it wasn't followed after that. Lost my train of thought there for a minute. The problem we're running into now is the cost. Any road is expensive as the daylights. And the biggest problem is we've let everything go so long that now the infrastructure under that street is in trouble. The water, the wastewater, the storm sewer, all of these need to be replaced too. So you're actually doubling and in some cases tripling the price of that road repair. And it's gonna take time. It's not gonna happen overnight.
We now go to Al Winter.
Road repair is number one on my list, and I know there's a list of streets that are gonna be fixed or are on the agenda to be fixed. There also are a lot of other ones that need to be fixed. And like they point out, this just didn't happen overnight. This happened over a 10 or 15, 20-year period. So it can't be fixed overnight. And we're gonna have to set up a plan for a 10-year plan and start nailing the bad streets first and work our way down to the streets as they're needed.
And we will come back this way to Becky Gluen to round out this round of questions.
Well, we already have a plan in place, and we are following that. And I think what happened in the last couple of years is that we have a lot better communication between our engineering and our water department, our DPW, and MSA, who's our contract engineer. So we will see a number of projects coming forward this summer. You can't move faster on roads than what we're doing because of the cost. There are other things in the community. We're not a one-issue community. There's no way that we can put everything into roads because we have a roof on the historical museum that's leaking. I mean, those types of things can't be let go. Otherwise, we lose a cherished gem, and those in facilities that need repairs. So, of course, I want to just point out the state of Wisconsin put out $75 million for grants for cities. There was a call for $1.4 billion. So while there was 75 put out, communities everywhere are dealing with this all over the states. It is not just Beaver Dam, and not even close.
And for this next media, was that the last media question? For this final media question, we begin with Al Winter.
How important is downtown revitalization?
I think that downtown revitalization has reached its peak in money to be being put down there. I think there's only so much you can do with the downtown that the taxpayer should be paying for. And I think that there are a lot of other priorities in the city. Streets, the taxi cab service, the taxi cabs. There's better places to start putting our money than trying to redevelop the downtown.
Now I think we come back here, and I apologize if I've gotten this order wrong. We'll reset back here with Becky Gluen in the number 2 spot.
The downtown is the heart and soul of our community, and it is what every community is working toward right now in this across the nation if they want to be competitive. So if you're not working on it, you're getting behind. We took 2 years where we concentrated some funds in the downtown, and we've seen huge economic development happen because of that. And we see it every day. We have conversations every day on more progress that's happening. Cleaning up blighted areas. Now, we don't have to put more money into that. We don't have to take taxpayer dollars to put that in there because there's a TIF formed already that started 10 years ago. The TIF is creating funds that can be used. And those are the grants that are happening right now. That's not affecting your tax bill. Those are funds that are coming into the TIF. The TIF was created for this purpose, blight reduction. That's what this is. That's what it was created for, and that's what those funds should go to. It's an attractor for young people, and that's what we need is to think about how we are positioning ourselves to attract a younger workforce here.
And the final word on this question goes to Jeff Coleman.
I think we've made some tremendous strides downtown from what it was. However, I'm getting the feedback from people that we've been sticking too much in one particular area. And it doesn't seem like it's been spread out as much as it could be. I think we need to sit down and take a real hard look at downtown and realize that the 300 block of South Spring Street is not all the downtown. We've got it all over the place. So if we're going to get the people downtown to work with us in those situations, we have to open up a dialogue real tight on that. And again, I think maybe just a little slow down at this point. We do have 2 part-time people, I understand, that supervisors or something, we call them down there, that are in contact with some of the business people or new business people wanting in. But it just doesn't seem like it's catching on as hot as it should.
All right, that concludes the round of media questions here at the Beaver Dam Mayoral Primary Candidates Forum at the Beaver Dam Veterans Center. We now move into our second segment. This is well, technically third, an opportunity for the candidates to ask questions of themselves. The numbers were already drawn, and so we're going to start. Oh yeah, wait, no. So we started with. Yeah, we start with Al Winter on this one. I apologize. The first question can be directed to any one or both of the candidates. The candidate that is asked a question will receive 1 minute of time to respond. The candidate asking the question will then receive 30 seconds to comment or rebut. Then the next 2 candidates will follow the same process. This process will continue until all the candidates have had a question to ask at least one question and have 1 rebuttal. Candidates will then reverse positions, beginning with the last set of candidates from the first round. Are we all clear on that?
Yeah, it's real simple.
So they get a minute and then like 30 seconds to rebut. We're going to start with Al Winter. You could ask a question of any candidate that you'd like.
This question is for Ms. Gluin. I'm employed at Beaver Dam Public Transit, which is owned by the city of Beaver Dam and is operated for the city by Running Incorporated out of Viroqua. Many people who come to this town say that they use this service diligently, and they do not know what they would do without this service. We provide somewhere around 130,000 rides per year. I myself provide around 35 to 40 rides per day. Ridership is up due to people moving to our community, about 25%. My question to you is, when are some of these seriously aging taxis, vans going to be replaced? It seems to me that 4 new ones would be a good start. The one I drove last week has 320,000 miles on it.
Great question, because I grant your wish. You get 4. Seriously, you do. This is all federal and state funded and city funded. It's a very small part comes from contributions from riders. And so we apply for state or federal grants for the taxis. We ask for 2 taxis every year to be supplied to the community. We've been getting 1. Supply funds have been decreasing over the years. And this year, we're getting 4. So we are actually getting 4 vehicles that will be coming. And
Please hold your applause.
The taxi piece is something that I have been working on for the last 2.5 years, and I have meetings all the time, and we're meeting with Green Valley Enterprises, the hospital, the school district, and all of these the apartment buildings, and talking about their high users and how can we work together to collaborate and figure out how we can improve the taxi. It is needed.
Quick rebuttal, thank you very much, and the employees at the Beaver Dam Public Transit will be very pleased with that.
All right. Now we come back here to, we go to Jeff. Yeah, we'll listen to what Jeff says. We'll go with Jeff Gluin. Jeff Coleman here for the next question. I'm just going to sit over here for a little while. I apologize.
I guess I'm going to fire my question back to Mr. Winter. And it is about the taxi service in Beaver Dam. Now, you've heard pretty much where our funding comes from and how we're tied to that. You had mentioned in your opening statements and also in your profile that you passed around that you were going to make some positive changes to the taxi service. And I guess I'd be interested to know what kind of changes you want to make to that.
Well, I think getting 4 taxis makes it a lot easier to hire more drivers, and when you have more drivers, then you have taxis to put them in, And therefore, makes it a lot easier for the person at the taxi company to schedule a day's work, which would allow us to pick up a lot more people a lot quicker, as these taxis aren't going to be in the shop being repaired all the time.
Rebuttal. You're entitled to 30 seconds.
Well, I'm kind of perplexed by that because through my association with the Police and Fire Commission, we handle the auction sales of those cabs when they come back. And I haven't seen a lot of maintenance done on those, to be very honest with you. They're pretty well shot by the time they get sold. And I understand part of it is the fact they have to keep running and running and running, but what kind of maintenance schedule they're using? They are used up and done. And it's a city of 16,000 people. It's not the city of Chicago.
All right. And now Becky Gluen has an opportunity to ask a question. I do want to remind all the candidates, try to get as close to the microphone as you can without being right up on it. That'll help prevent some of that hum that we may have been getting. So if you would, please.
So I can ask both candidates, is that correct?
The question, just to read again, so we're all on the same page. The candidate that is asked a question will receive one race, 1 minute to respond. Numbers with John, lowest number determining who gets the first question, asking the same order as identifying. Candidate is asked a question, 1 minute. All right, the candidate asking the question will then receive, can we get a ruling from the chamber on this? Okay. All right, so yes, apparently the chamber says you can ask a question of both candidates.
Okay. All right, in the past month, I have attended Operations Committee meetings, Administrative Committee meetings, Common Council meetings, the Chamber Annual Dinner to honor a Business of the Year, Nonprofit of the Year, Person of the Year, a committee meeting to discuss the revitalization of our beloved Swan Park, an Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention workshop on opiates and medicines, Beaver Dam School District community meeting discussing employment for individuals with disabilities, Cabin Fever Fest, EMS discussions at the county. To date, neither of you have been present at any of these meetings. So my question is how do you plan to be up to date on all of our community happenings, not just roads and the issues that are affecting our community if you're not informed now and attending these things now?
First off, I'm going to correct you because I've been to 2 council meetings. I was at budget meetings.
Last year, not this
Well,
year.
up until, and I was also at the Spring Street Road or Spring Street meeting.
Not since
that
you
sort of
announced your
thing,
candidacy.
So,
Please let him answer.
I have not been involved in the individual committee meetings since I've become a candidate because frankly, I don't want to get anybody's dander up. But I have been to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings over the years, and I still have a pretty good idea how things operate.
Mr. Winter.
I think that's a good and a fair question. I pretty much work full-time, and I have some other commitments and some other organizations I belong to, and if I were, I do try to read the minutes of the council meetings and the committee meetings on the internet, and I'm sure as time goes along, I'll attend more of these council meetings and special meetings.
30-second opportunity for Becky Gluen.
Sure. Well, just every single one of those meetings is in the evening. That's the type of schedule that, that the mayor holds, is all day and a lot of evening meetings, a lot of weekends, virtually every weekend, being contacted through social media forms of contact as far as at home, through your Facebook messages. So anyway, I think it's important to know that someone that takes this position is going to keep that level of participation up in the community.
All right. And now we begin with Al Winter, again, asking a question of either an individual or both candidates.
I have a question for Mr. Coleman. Your campaign literature and your campaign spokesman have clearly stated that you have no preconceived agenda if you are elected mayor. You further state that you will follow the wishes of your constituents. That being the case, I don't understand why you or anyone else would want to vote for you. It seems to me that the taxpayers want the roads fixed, the taxi cab fleet fixed, the service improved, affordable housing for the elderly, Swan Park remodeled.
Where did you get those ideas from?
Want to stop some of the frivolous spending in the downtown area.
Where did you get those ideas from? They didn't fall out of the sky. You talk to people. You talk to people, you find out what the people want, what they need, what they think about the programs that are going already. It's, the government belongs to the people. The city government does. A mayor's job, if you get down to the reality of it, is to be a cheerleader for the community, to run meetings, and to break a tie. That's the extent of it. There's a lot more that goes with it, but you know, that's basically what it is. You have to talk to these people, ask them what they want.
I totally understand that. Your literature says that you have no preconceived agenda.
I have no preconceived agenda. I have ideas, I have things I'd like to see done. But the people that are gonna make that decision are sitting right in this room.
That's a different issue.
Okay, now
How is that a different issue?
You have to have some kind of a plan.
we've reached our time on that.
Lost me on that one.
But you do have an opportunity to ask a question, again, of one or both of the candidates. Jeff Komen.
I'll pass.
Okay, and we'll go to Becky Gluman. Becky Gluman, an opportunity to ask one or both of the candidates a question.
What has been your greatest accomplishment in the past 2 years?
Is that directed toward both candidates?
Correct.
Are you asking personal life or political life or
Whatever you want to share.
Whatever it is?
I guess.
I think the biggest accomplishment I've had the past 2 years has been my work with the Police and Fire Commission, with the police and fire departments. We had kind of two departments that were running wild. I shouldn't say running wild, they weren't as controlled as they should have been. And I've done a very good job of bringing it under control. I'm very proud of it. So I would say that's my biggest accomplishment.
30 seconds to, oh, I'm sorry, 1 minute to Al Winter.
My greatest accomplishment, I guess, in the last 2 years is with the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I was elected the #1 state quartermaster, which is a finance officer in the state of Wisconsin. And other than that, just happy I get up and go to work every day and that I'm healthy.
30 seconds to Becky Gluin.
I thank you again for your work with the veterans, very much appreciated. I would say to my opponent to the left is over that time of leadership with the police and fire, it's taken 4 years to approve a personnel handbook, over 3 years to try to get a benefit manual in place, which hasn't happened. And the comments about talking about slowing things down is of concern that everyone should be concerned about.
Okay. We will now offer another round of candidates asking candidates questions, again, beginning with Al Winter, should he choose to ask a question.
I'd like to ask this question to Mr. Komen. I've lost 2 friends in the last 3 weeks due to drug overdose. It seems that drugs are everywhere. I listened to some parents in the taxi telling me about their kids having problems in the schools all the way down to the middle school. Even a couple of them talk about the grade school. What's going on with the Police and Fire Commission to combat some of these serious problems? And what would you do additionally if you were elected mayor?
Well, first off, yes, it's a problem. Is it a problem for Beaver Dam? It's a problem for the United States. It's everywhere. It's difficult. For a community our size to have enough police to form our own drug task force just doesn't work. So we've actually tagged on with the county task force. And we have a drug detective, and I can tell you they're busy, but I cannot tell you the things they're doing or why they're doing them or where they're doing them, because that's part of their investigations. I can tell you exactly what I would do if I was when I'm elected mayor, and that is nothing, because the mayor in Beaver Dam has no jurisdiction of any kind over the police and fire department. So that is going to be totally up to the Police and Fire Commission and the chief of police. So
30-second rebuttal opportunity for Al Winter.
I have no rebuttal. I guess he gave a fairly good answer. I just think that the drugs are running rampant in Beaver Dam, and people are dying regularly from overdoses, and it needs to be addressed.
Jeff Komen has an opportunity to ask a question again of one or both of the candidates.
Well, I guess I got one for Mayor Gluin, and it's a very short one. Why, knowing that the people in this community, when I went out having nomination papers signed, invariably every person asked me, when are you going to fix this street? When are you going to fix that street? When are you going to fix this street? why has it all of a sudden become a priority in the newspaper to fix roads? And you got a list now of them and that sort of thing. Why weren't we doing this in some kind of future planning for the past 2.5 years?
Well, because I am not, while I lead and I try to lead this community, I am not the voter of this, that makes things happen. It's your council. Those are your alderpersons. There's 14 in the city, and they decide whether, I put a budget forward in both of the last 2 years that included more road work. And in both of those years, we were a little bit stuck on a perceived borrowing limit that we had. We worked through that this year, and that's why we have a 76% CIP that's focused on roads this year. We have a council that can make those decisions.
30 seconds to Jeff Coleman to rebut.
No, I think that's satisfactory.
Okay, we come back to Becky Gluen. Again, you can ask a question or one or both candidates.
How would the two of you go about obtaining outside grants for the community? We've been very successful in getting over $3 million worth of outside grants for the community in various ways, a lot for roads. How would you go about obtaining outside grants?
I'm not sure who writes the grant applications now, but I think you have to actually hire someone to do those because they're very intense, and the people that do it for a living know exactly how to run a grant application. And whoever's been writing them for us has been very successful, I'll say that. And I can't honestly say that I'm unhappy with the way grants have been coming through, but I think everybody needs to stay on top of that constantly, because there's always another grant here, another grant there, or for police or fire, or for somebody. So everybody's got to stay on top of it. But I guess, again, an answer request without a lot of fluff is, I think you need to hire a grant writer to write them.
30-second rebuttal to Becky Gluen.
Well, I would just say, we've been doing that for the past 2 years without hiring someone. So it would be of concern to me as why we would add an extra cost when we've been able to do that in-house and with people that are working for the city and helping the city because they want to make Beaver Dam better. I just want to touch, since I have a couple seconds, on prevention. The mayor definitely has a voice in leading prevention on opioid use. I work closely with the Allies for Substance Abuse Prevention through the county. It's a very big role.
Thank you. We do have time for one more go-around, so we will go back to Al Winter. Feel free to ask a question of one or both candidates.
This question's for Ms. Gluen, since we're on grant applications. Regarding the loss of the $330,000 due to not submitting the grant application, you stated to the Daily Citizen that the city will cover the loss of the $330,000 by taking some money from one fund and transferring it to another fund. First of all, the city does not have any money. All the money under the city's control belongs to the taxpayers of Beaver Dam, as does City Hall, the fire department, the police department, the public works, and any other property that the city government controls. My question is, if you take $330,000 from City Fund Number 2 and you transfer it to City Fund Number 1 to cover the loss, then is not City Fund Number 2 and the city of Beaver Dam still short $330,000? So then how did the loss of $330,000 get covered?
It gets covered, the city has fund balance that covers bills that come in, and thankfully we have a finance director that has kept ours very healthy. So it comes out of there. That is not taken lightly. It's certainly not something that we wanted to ever happen. I guess that was a situation where that wasn't a grant opportunity, that was a filing error. Where a paper was not filed in the time at the state, the Department of Revenue. We worked with Representative Bourne and Fitzgerald to try to get that change through the state. But other communities experienced the same thing, usually a half a dozen a year. And so it wasn't like they could just say Beaver Dam is going to get that money back from the state. So we didn't have the opportunity to receive that back.
30-second rebuttal opportunity.
So in essence, the grant wasn't really covered, or the application. We were out and are out the $330,000.
That's correct.
The citizen made it look like, well, it was just all covered.
No. I mean, it's lost money, correct.
Okay.
It should have come to the city had the paper been
Okay.
filed.
That's sufficient.
That's his
good.
rebuttal period. You still have some time left if you'd like to rebut, Mr. Winter.
No, I said that was sufficient.
Okay.
My point is the grant never did get covered, and it was a false impression put in the Daily Citizen to everyone. It was covered, and it's not covered. We're still out the money.
Next question opportunity goes to Jeff Coleman.
Question for Mayor Gluen, and it's gonna revert back to the $330,000 loss. But I've had a lot of people ask me, how did this happen? Who was responsible for hiring this man who really didn't have a financial background? Who took responsibility for this in the end?
So the individual that was hired in that position was a team of individuals that interviewed him, and it was John Summers, our former finance director, our economic development director, Trent Campbell, and our council president at the time, who was Robert Ballweg, and myself. And through that interview process, each of us unanimously said that this individual was qualified, and he was. We called, to his former place of employment and did speak with them. And so that's the decision on how he was hired.
30-second rebuttal.
No, I think that's okay.
All right, and we now go to Becky Gluen to ask a question of one or both of the candidates.
I guess one of the questions I had is for Mr. Coleman. So this position is full-time and then some. It requires a great deal of time with administrative duties as far as scheduling meetings, writing letters of recommendations, preparing speeches, PowerPoints for the community, email, Facebook messages. In the past, mayors have had an administrative assistant to help them, and during my administration, I have not used that. I've used my own abilities to take care of that. Do you feel that you have the technical skills to manage this daily, or do we need to hire someone to help you?
I think I can handle it. I've handled enough of it over the years, and not necessarily from the mayor's level, but when I was president of the council, I acted in the mayor's behest in many cases. And I understand it's a full-time position. I understand it does not have to be 60 or 70 hours a week if you let people do their jobs. And I think I'm up to the job, up to the task.
30 seconds to the mayor.
I have no questions.
All right. I think we have time for one more go-around. So we can begin at the start at the beginning again and go to Alan Winter to ask a question of one or both candidates.
Mr. Coleman, before we begin, I just want to thank you for your 16 years of service to the city of Beaver Dam, serving as an alderman and chairman of several committees and as president of the Beaver Dam Police and Fire Commission. I was commander and business agent of the VFW Post 1163 for almost 20 years. Our post was located across the street from 302 South Spring Street. We and every other bar in town has had to follow the rules for fencing our outdoor areas in when serving alcohol. My question to you is regarding the variance for the outdoor closure for serving alcohol that was granted to the Yuga Brewery. I understand through the grapevine that the mayor wanted this done rather quickly, so I understand that a hurry-up meeting was held by your committee to grant this variance. I'd like to know if there was a quorum present at that meeting, or did a couple of the members of the committee just get together and grant the variance? And if so, why did you grant the variance?
You're asking the wrong person. I don't grant variances. That's the common council and the mayor.
That's not-
Would you like to redirect
wanna
your question to
Ask
somebody
me
else?
That question? You want to ask
Mr.
me
Winter?
that question? I'd be happy to
Because
answer
if I was
it.
granting variances, I'd get one on my house.
I'd be happy to answer that. It's not a variance. It wasn't a variance. And I would like, if people would call and ask these questions rather than sharing false information, it would be helpful. But it's not a variance. That is a brewery, and they have a state permit for their drinking license. And so they do not need, they don't follow the same rules. Just to say, though, it wasn't hurried up. It went through the administrative committee. and they looked at it. I spoke with several other establishments that do have Stooges and Thirsty Beaver. They want to keep that up. I said, ask them if they'd like to come in. They can have that reviewed. In fact, our inspector would agree and has said this rule to have a compound around this is quite honestly, it's archaic. And if you leave town and you go to any other community that is looking, there's much more outdoor seating. People are able to walk around more, and it's not fenced off. So it's actually encouraged.
30-second rebuttal to Al Winter.
Well, that's very interesting, because I know at the VFW, every time we wanted to have a corn roaster, have something going on, we had to get snow fencing and barrels and fix the whole back of that tower parking lot up airtight. We even have aldermen and people from the various committees come down and inspect us. So I guess I was wondering how that worked, and I still don't see where you can be serving alcohol out in the public like that. People can be sitting in a chair and hand somebody a drink walking by. So if you feel that's good for the committee or for the community, I guess so be it.
Next opportunity for a question goes to Jeff Coleman.
Well, I don't have a question, but I guess I'd like to just make a comment on this past one. And that's that my understanding is that the Uga Brewery itself is under state jurisdiction as far as the licensing and so forth goes. But it was my understanding that the building is under the city of Beaver Dams. And I guess if I'm incorrect on that, Mayor, maybe you can fill me in on the details, because that is the understanding we at the police department had.
That does sound like a question directed toward Becky Gluen.
Sure. Well, and again, these are conversations that prior to even taking this to the administrative committee, we spoke with the chief of police, and the chief said too, I go to other communities, and we were just in Milwaukee, and I could cross the sidewalk and sit on a table with a drink. And so, again, times have changed, and people think of that a little bit differently now as far as outdoor seating and having that. If you go to Door County, it's very open. They have a lot of establishments that have outdoor seating. And again, the brewery is different. They have a state permit for their license for alcohol.
30-second rebuttal, if you would like.
I don't mean to sound like a smart aleck, but I don't care what they do anyplace else. We're talking about Beaver Dam. And if the rule is good for one, the rule is good for all.
And every business is available to come in and have that changed. Stooges didn't want to. I told them, I encouraged them to.
You gave, it was a rebuttal period there. If you would like to ask a question, though, this is your opportunity to ask a question of one or both candidates.
No, I think I won't ask. I'll use my time to just talk about how it is so important to.
Try to form it as a question if you can.
Okay. I don't have any more questions. How much longer is this going?
This is the last part of this segment. You're supposed to ask a question.
Our county is aging, but our 65 and older population will increase by 100% in the next 20 years. And our working population will decrease by 9.5%. That's the track we're on right now. It is critically important that we're bringing young people to our community and have young people things for them to do. And open outdoor areas is something that's very popular. And
you need to ask a
it's
question,
accepted.
Mayor.
And so, are you saying
We're making our own rules here as we're going along.
Are you saying
Back to
that you
some
would
order.
oppose, some of those things, I guess?
And this is being directed to Jeff Coleman
Yes,
by your
Mr.
gesturing, I'm guessing?
And again, this is from the chief of police. So are you saying that the chief of police is wrong in recommending this?
No, I'm just saying that as a candidate for mayor, he's not right. How's that sound? I believe every community has a different set of standards. We're talking about Beaver Dam. And, what they do in Juneau or Horicon or anywhere else really shouldn't matter to us. What matters is what we do in Beaver Dam. And that ordinance has cost several of the establishments in this town a lot of money, Stooges especially. I mean, he's got a beautiful outdoor beer garden. What a great place. But the next person doesn't have to have one. So I'm a little concerned about that.
And you've earned your 30-second rebuttal time now, Mayor.
I don't know what more to say. It's, again, if you're looking at research and you're looking at how a community is competitive, these types of things are critically important to communities. And we just heard it last night at the Police and Fire Commission meeting. The youngest fireman there said, you know, I want to live 45 minutes away from here because there's nothing to do. So that's exactly why we need those types of things.
All right. That's a conclusion of this segment now. Please, nobody tell Phil Fritchie about how we may have violated some of the rules here of this debate. We are at the Beaver Dam Mayoral Primary Candidates Forum. This is an opportunity for everybody to just take a break for 5 minutes. So we ask you to stick around because this is coming up next, your opportunity to ask questions of the candidates for mayor of the city of Beaver Dam. In fact, if you would like to start standing in line right now, we would invite you to walk over here to the microphone. Well, it's a microphone stand now. There will be a microphone there in just a moment, I promise. We'll be back in just a few moments.
We got time for a potty break?
5 minutes at least.
Whoa, oops, I got you. I got it. That table was pretty floppy. Everybody's okay?
Yeah, let's try to grab you.
Glad you got big hands.
Yeah, I do.
I'm not really sure we followed any of that. So, I mean, was that right?
the aisle.
Oh, no, he ain't.
Okay. Yeah, just line up behind this gentleman over here if you have a question.
Of all the people I got to put up with, Joe Bruns.
Put up a who?
Joe, he's my neighbor.
I'm sure it's coming to me.
Don't count on that.
Short question and answer session here.
Yeah, kids, you said all your kids living in Beaver Dam yet?
Yeah, one one's Mr. Madison's out on Madison
Oh, yeah,
Street.
Kevin? Yeah.
The other
Or
one,
Kevin?
yeah, it's really
And
Kevin.
we are back here at the Beaver Dam Mayoral Primary Candidates Forum, live from the Beaver Dam Veterans Center. The candidates for Beaver Dam Mayor are Al Winter, Jeff Coman, and incumbent Becky Gluen. This segment, an opportunity for the public to ask questions of the candidates. Each question can be directed at one or all of the candidates. If a question is posed to only one candidate in the race, they get a minute to respond. Both of the other candidates get 30 seconds to offer a rebuttal. The Beaver Dam Chamber of Commerce does have the right to disallow any questions posed from the public deemed defamatory, based on inaccurate or false information, or asked in such a way to make it intentionally controversial. It's kind of a subjective thing, but if we all kind of look at each other and it's like, we're just going to ask you to skip and go to the next question. The flow will be this way again. We'll go Becky Gluen, Jeff Coman, Al Winter. If questions are asked of all of the candidates the first time. The second time, if the questions are asked of all the candidates, we'll begin with Jeff Coman. Third time, Al Winter. So we now go to the microphone and ask you to ask your question.
Yes, over the last few years, we have had a lot of long-term employees that have left the city due to retirements, early retirements, and also I know a lot of the employees and the morale within the city employees is at not a very high peak. What are you, as the three candidates, going to do or attempt to do to keep or build the morale up for the employees and keep that retention?
We will begin with Becky Gluen.
Well, I would disagree. So the people that have retired are working 30 and 40 years, 25 years, so I think they're, allowed to retire. We had our engineering coordinator leave for another opportunity in Watertown, and that's one individual that left for an opportunity. I guess you see people going to other jobs all over the place. These emptiness of saying people say, workers say, is just, we need to know who are those individuals. Then I can tell you all of my department heads support everything that we're doing. And when we interview professionals, they like what's happening here and they want to be a part of it.
Jeff Coman.
I have heard, and I've had a couple employees tell me this, it hasn't been widespread, but that it's kind of a toxic work environment. And I'm not sure what makes it toxic or why it's toxic. So I think as a new mayor going in, I think the first thing needs to be done is everybody needs to be sat down and find out what their gripes are. If there's something higher up, if there's something lower, what is it? What is it? And I think that's the biggest thing we have to do. By the time Al or I are elected mayor, the new hires are gonna be in place already. So that's just gonna be a matter of working with new people at that point. But if there is a toxic environment, we need to find out what it is and why it is.
Al Winter.
I've heard through the grapevine several months ago of different, city employees that City Hall was bordering on a crisis mode. People were leaving and bailing out due to the atmosphere at City Hall. I've been a manager, I've been an owner of a business, and I've employed people, and I was always more than willing to sit down with them when there was an issue and listen to their side of the story and tell them my side of the story and maybe the company's position. And I've tried to work with my employees and maintain the people that I've spent time and money on training. It's not a value to train someone and then have them leave and go somewhere else.
Okay, and the next question, thank you very much for that question. We appreciate it. We go to back to the public for another question.
I'm Jack Yudd, 7th Ward Alderman. This is directed to the mayor. Within 24 hours of being sworn into office, you called me the next afternoon, told me you didn't like the way I voted. You told me the people I hang around with you didn't like. And you told me one of the council members was thrown out of your church, which later I found was false. Is this intimidation, proven leadership, or just plain bullying?
Well, I don't remember a conversation like that, and I'm pretty sure that I did not. No.
This was a true conversation.
Yeah, well, everybody has their own decisions to make, and you're a big boy and can take and make your own decisions. Whether I don't think that I would have said, I may have said that some individuals are negative, and I think that you have worked well with the council.
There's a 30-second, are you done, Becky? Glenn?
Yes.
There is a 30-second rebuttal opportunity for Jeff
All of
Coleman
us?
and Al Winter.
Well, I got the same type of phone call the morning after I filed papers for running for mayor. And I think it was more a knee-jerk reaction at that time, but it was pretty intense. So I know what you're talking about.
Al Winter.
Unfortunately, I guess I didn't receive any calls, so I really can't comment on that. I did hear that Mr. Coleman got a phone call from the mayor expressing her displeasure with him running for office, and I'm not familiar with Jack's situation, so I can't comment on it.
All right, we will go to our next question. And just to remind you to ask just one question, please, and it is not a back and forth exchange.
Yeah. So I've got a question for all three of you. What is your favorite thing about Beaver Dam?
And for that one, we begin with Jeff Coleman.
Boy, how do you put one favorite thing about Beaver Dam? I guess it's just the people seem to be what I notice the most. I mean, there's just some super friendly people, and especially in the neighborhood I live in, everybody's pretty close. And through this campaign, I've renewed old acquaintances and met new people and that sort of thing. And the more people you meet, the better they are. And I think that's an asset that Beaver Dam has that we really have to work on.
And the question now goes to Al Winter.
As I said, I grew up here, and I know just about everybody in town, or else I'm related to almost everybody in town one way or the other. And I think that Beaver Dam is a great town. We have some real great facilities here. We have a nice lake. We have 2 fine golf courses. We have some great parks. We have some great recreational sports, baseball, softball, water skiing. It's just a real great, we have a great school system. We have a brand new high school. And I think it's just a great community to be from and to grow up in.
And we now go to Becky Gluen.
And I would agree and just say, having grown up here, I always appreciated the access that we have to metropolitan areas, easy access, but yet the small town living, great people, people that care about everything that happens here, and have a lot of pride in our community.
All right, thank you for that question. We now go to the next individual in line.
Hi, this question is for Jeffrey. You've mentioned that you were on the council for 12 years. Becky's been mayor for 2.5 years and has quite a list of accomplishments. What is your proudest accomplishment from the 12 years that you were on council, and did you get a grant for any of that?
Well, the council at that point was set up a little differently than it is now as far as the committees and so forth went. Grant applications were actually written by, at that time, by John Summers, who was our administrative person at that point. In his first couple of years Becky was here, he was here also. There were so many things I was involved in that the renewal of the wastewater treatment, the big project there, the water department, we had a big project there, the fire station we had an expansion on, and we worked day and night on that Walmart not super center, but distribution center. That was the annexation, the placement of it there, and everything was just a huge, huge project. So I would say those are, the ones that come to mind here, but over 12 years, you got a lot of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And because that was directed toward one candidate, the other two candidates do have 30 seconds if they would like to rebut or comment on that question. And we begin with Al Winter.
I have no rebuttal.
And then we go to Becky Gluen. And then we go to our next individual in line and say, please ask your question.
Okay. This question is for all three of you. And in the past 2 years, Mayor Gluen's commitment to our downtown has helped spur 26 new businesses or businesses that have relocated to bigger properties. So along with that and the fact that many homeowners and investors have put a lot of money into downtown, what do you see as how you're going to continue to help downtown with the resurgence?
And we begin with Al Winter on this one.
I think that's a good question, and you point out that there's 26 new businesses down there. I'd have to go down and count them and make sure, because I don't believe that.
I'll send you the list.
Secondly, how many have we lost? How many have moved, gone out of business? What are these? I went downtown the last 3 Friday nights, particularly with my wife. All these businesses were closed. There was I think McKinstry's was open, and Ming's was open, and probably Stormy's, and a few other bars downtown were open. Otherwise, I needed to buy a shirt, I needed to buy a sweater. There's no clothing stores, there's no shoe stores, there's no place to go downtown and do what? I'm not into antiques. I have an attic full, or I had an attic full. So I don't know that everyone's to support your downtown merchants. You go downtown, they're closed. And secondly, they don't have anything to buy. They need to get some decent stores down there with some decent clothes for men, for women. They might get some more business.
And now in the number 2 slot, Becky Gluen.
Well, you've seen what my commitment to business overall, small or big, and I believe in small business and shopping local, and whether it's eating at restaurants or shopping, what appeals to one person, not necessarily appeals to another. Building entrepreneurs right now is like one of the most important things that communities need to do. We are at a 40-year all-time low for building entrepreneurism, and that's a concern to the nation. And so a lot of these things we're focusing on in providing business workshops and classes for individuals to consider opening their own store is very important, and I will continue to build economic growth for our community.
And now Jeff Coleman.
For anybody out there that's 39 years old like I am, we remember what downtown Beaver Dam was at one time. It was solid people. It was stores open till 9 o'clock every night. There was Christmas music blazing from speakers around the downtown and everything. If we expect that to happen again, it's not going to. Those days are gone. But we do need to continue that program to some extent. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know to what extent everything's going now, what's in the works, what's not in the works. But we still need to concentrate on downtown, and we also need to figure out what we're gonna do with the big box stores that are empty. And there is absolutely not even a prayer of anybody coming into those things. So there's a lot of development that needs looking at, but I guess again, just to answer that question, we're not gonna let that die, but we're gonna take a good long hard look at it.
All right, we go to the next individual in line. Please ask your question.
South Spring Street, doing really well. My question is As a sheriff, I find it important to work with stakeholders, including the mayor and the biggest city within Dodge County. 2 years ago, this question is for Mr. Coleman. 2 years ago, I came to the Police and Fire Commission to resolve an issue impacting Beaver Dam related to the county records management system. I came with suggestions to identify and fix the problem, but rather than allow me to speak, I was shut down and attacked by you with untrue accusations in a public meeting. Afterwards, I worked independent of you with the police chief, and very well, I might add. We discovered that the vast majority of the concerns were caused by an extremely slow internet connection at the police department, which the chief easily fixed. It was not the fault of the county, as you stated. You created a significant adversarial relationship, and I would like to know how you will work with me as the sheriff and as a new business owner downtown to improve relationships so we can work together if you're the mayor.
Yeah, that was kind of a contentious meeting, as I recall. Yeah. If you work decent with us, we'll work decent with you. My understanding now through the Police and Fire Commission is that particular working relationship has improved greatly. And I think it's on both parts, it's worked that way. We had a computer system ramrodded down our throat that we couldn't afford, that we had no problems with the system we had. That was where I was coming from. My people were having trouble with it, and some serious trouble. Those have been worked out. So if I offended you, I apologize. But I was offending you for the sake of our police department.
And a 30-second rebuttal opportunity goes to the other two candidates. We'll begin with Al Winter.
I have no rebuttal. I wasn't involved. It seems like they have it worked out.
If you would like to comment, Becky Gluen.
I just think I have a proven track record, and this is how all of these things get accomplished, is because I'm working all the time with individuals across the county, where we had the county for the first time work with us on an economic development piece to give to the city a portion of the cost for repairing the road that will extend sewer and water out to the new Quick Trip on the south side. So I find it extremely important to work with others on to get things done, and that's how the long list of things that have gotten done are happening.
All right, thank you for that question. We now go to the next individual in line.
My question's for Jeff. You stated that you wanted to slow things down a little bit, and I'm concerned because our city's not even growing at the current rate of inflation. So that's going to cause a shortfall to us and ultimately an added tax burden to me and my fellow residents. I'd like to know how you're going to combat that.
I guess when I use the term slow down, I shouldn't use the term slow down. We're going to take a deep breath and look at everything. The programs that are working, we're going to continue with. The programs that aren't working, we're going to revise or whatever. It's at that point it becomes between the citizens of the community, their alderpersons, the mayor, everybody. So to say I'm going to slow down, no, I'm not going to put the brakes on. But we are going to look at everything real solidly, and that's going to take a little bit of time to start with. I trust that the programs that are working are still going right now. We're not going to do much with, but there's other ones that need to be looked at. So.
30 seconds. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say I share your concern about the community too. We need to grow more.
Yep.
Okay, and a 30-second comment opportunity for Al Winter.
Yeah, I don't think we have to slow things down completely, but I think we've put millions into the downtown revitalization program, and one of my concerns is how much more money are we going to continue to put into that program. There are a lot of other businesses in town on the other end that are suffering and not drawing people to our community. And we're going to have to take a look at the programs and what is working and what isn't working, and try to come up with some solutions to get more people that want to come to Beaver Dam and live.
And a 30-second comment opportunity for Becky Gluen.
So first of all, I mean, you can't just take money and spread it around town. It's concentrated in TIFs. So you can use TIF funds in those areas or areas that are blighted. And we do have a lot of opportunities. We have 2 opportunities that will be coming to us in redevelopment of our Boston store. So it is not, and that should be coming soon. All of these things take time. And I think that's one thing that people want, sometimes is, quick turnarounds, but it takes time.
All right, we now go to our next member of the public. Please ask a question.
I'm Jacqueline Shelton, Ward 9 alderperson. First, I have to say I was elected the same day as Jack and definitely did not receive a similar phone call as discussed earlier. But I will say, you know, one of the things I think, you know, I'm a young professional who moved to Beaver Dam about 5 years ago. I'm an aberration in this community, and I'm wondering what you see as your role in a mayor in helping expand having a young, vibrant workforce in our community, because as the mayor stated earlier tonight, we are in a critical place about not having a workforce for our future. So this question is for all three of you.
And we begin again with Becky Gluen.
And every single meeting, that is the focus. Every single meeting, business, state, local, county, it is the focus that everyone is concerned about. It is not to be taken lightly. We have businesses in Dodge County that have stated if we can't find the workforce, we need to go possibly where we can find one. That affects us all as our tax base. So it is a very serious thing, and that's why I have never, ever heard anyone say slow down. I just think that that's a wrong message for any business, or any business needs our support right now in exactly the way that we're doing these things.
And now Jeff Coleman.
We have got a real serious problem finding young people to work. You can't spin around in a circle without finding 5 or 6 job opportunities in this community. I'm not sure what the answer to that is. We, at the Police and Fire Commission and Police and Fire Department, we're going through just a terrible time trying to bring young professional people in. And I don't think anybody's actually hit on the answer yet, but you have to sell the community. That's the big thing. You have to sell that people want to live here.
And we now go to Al Winter.
I think that jobs are what bring people. Manufacturing jobs bring people to the community. And I think in Beaver Dam, the city is not growing, but I think that the townships are growing. And I think that the people who come here will get these big jobs and good jobs are building brand new, beautiful homes out in the townships due to the Beaver Dam's tax base. And I don't know, have a recommendation at the moment what to do about it, but I think we're going to need to have to appoint some type of committee and go over and figure out what it's going to take to get people to want to live in Beaver Dam. And I'm not so sure that it's necessarily some of these new apartments that are built that are renting for $1,100, $1,200 a month is the answer. They might as well buy a home and build it out in the community. So something's got to be done, and it's got to be a consensus of a committee and a follow through by the city.
All right, we have time for one more question from the public.
About 4 years ago, the community hospital locally gave a huge gift to the city, and that's a project called Blue Zones. It's a health and wellness initiative, and I'm on a couple of committees together with Becky, so I know personally what she knows about it and has gotten involved with it, but I'd like to know from the two of you what your involvement is.
That's going to have to be at one or all three. Would you like all three of those candidates to answer that? Okay, and we'll begin with Jeff Coleman on this one.
My involvement with it has been from the fire department level. The building, and we're talking about the old Lutheran Hospital, correct?
No.
Okay, which hospital are we talking about?
No, the community hospital donated a lot of funds through the foundation to bring a program called Blue Zones to the community. That's a health and wellness initiative to help the community in many aspects of the community to become.
The only involvement I have is what I've read and seen. I have not been directly involved with the Blue Zones project at all.
Thank you.
We now go to Al Winter.
I have no direct involvement with the Blue Zone. I was in the hospital yesterday and I saw some pamphlets and some things, and I understand it's a wellness program, and I have the same wellness program with my Dean Care. Most of it seems similar to me, and I play golf. I try to get a lot of exercise and try to eat the right foods. So that's about my involvement with the wellness program.
And we go to Becky Gluen.
Well, Blue Zones is really bigger than health. It's about built environment and how we set our city up for making it easy for people to want to do the healthy choices And our city plan, City of Beaver Dam Comprehensive Plan that was put into place 11 years ago, basically is a blueprint for blue zones. If you look at this, and we haven't followed it, but we are trying to do that now, and a part of that is a huge component of the downtown that we followed, and all of the things that we've done in the downtown are in our comprehensive plan that were in here, and they all follow the Blue Zones Initiative. Get out and make walking easier, biking easier, and accessibility to all individuals and to our parks and everything.
Thank you.
All right, we'd like to thank all of you, members of the audience, for taking a moment to ask questions of the candidates this evening. We really do appreciate it. This is the portion of the program now where the candidates are given an opportunity to give their closing statements, and we will go in the same order as the opening statements, beginning with Becky Gluen.
How long do we have?
Excellent question. You have 1 minute to summarize your position.
I ran for mayor almost 3 years ago because I cared about my hometown and the people that live here. When I learned about the demographic shift that was facing our community, I knew that in order for Beaver Dam to stay viable, we needed to compete. We could not sit back on our heels and let our city continue to stay stagnant. Local businesses need our support to be competitive, to attract a new workforce, or they may leave to find a new one. We cannot afford to go backwards and slow down progress as my opponents wish to do. Beaver Dam needs a dynamic leader that takes competition seriously and keeps moving Beaver Dam forward. I have fought for Beaver Dam and you and our children and grandchildren so that they'll want to come back here. I want my kids to come back here. For a community that we can all be proud of. We're bringing that leadership back to Beaver Dam, so I ask for your support to continue our progress by voting Mayor Becky Gluen on February 18th. Thank you.
And we now go to Jeff Komen.
I don't take the position of mayor lightly in this community. And to be honest with you, I've been retired for 10 years. I need a job like I need a hole in my head. But people are telling me that things aren't the way they want them to be. Things are being done that they don't want done. They don't have an involvement with their alderpersons. They don't know who their alderperson is. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I think I have the responsibility at this point to try to bring the people and the city back together. It's not broken beyond hope, but I think there's some work that needs to be done there.
And we now go to Al Winter.
Well, I think it's time for a change. A fresh face with some different ideas, someone who's fair and someone who's firm. The city needs a mayor who is everybody's mayor, the people's mayor. And I just want to thank the Beaver Dam Chamber of Commerce for hosting this fine debate, and the Daily Citizen, WBEV, for their coverage and advance publicity. I also want to thank everyone who took the time out of their busy schedule to attend and participate in this event. And I also want to thank anyone that I missed.
And we'd like to thank you all again for joining us today at the Beaver Dam Mayoral Primary Candidates Forum here live from the Beaver Dam Veterans Center. I want to thank the candidates again, Jeff Komen, Al Winter, Becky Gluen, all appearing on the February 18th ballot for all City of Beaver Dam voters. We also want to take a moment to let you know that there will be another candidates forum sponsored by the Beaver Dam Chamber of Commerce with a very clear list of rules and expectations that the moderator will follow. And we would invite you at that time, Wednesday, yes, April 1st, here at the Beaver Dam Veterans Center. Also a little plug for the radio station. Each one of these candidates will be joining us next week on WBEV's Community Comment, which airs at 12:35. Jeff Komen will be joining us on Monday. Al Winter will be joining us on Tuesday. Becky Gluen will be joining us on Wednesday. We will be video streaming that, and you'll also be able to listen back and watch back after all the candidates have appeared. We do want to thank the Chamber of Commerce once again for hosting this program this evening, and a special thanks to the Beaver Dam American Legion for opening their doors and allowing the community to come in here to participate in this democratic process. The O'Briens want me to mention that the bar is going to be open after the event is closed, so take what you will from that. Thank our folks here that are running the show, Jeff Hall, Justin Wilski for getting this program on dailydodge.com. You'll be able to watch back this very video at dailydodge.com tonight, and you can listen back on the radio, AM 1430 WBEV, this Saturday at 1 o'clock. We will be broadcasting this debate. In the meantime, again, we want to thank you very much for coming and joining us in participating in democracy. So thank you very much. Have a safe rest of your evening.